We'll be discussing the governance and good governance of World Rugby, more specifically their organisational approach to the issues surrounding concussion in the sport. So this presentation will cover who are World Rugby, good governance of World Rugby, the discussion of governance within World Rugby, along with a conclusion and references. So who are World Rugby? World Rugby are the international governing body for the sport of rugby union. Founded in 1886 as the International Rugby Football Board, later becoming the International Rugby Board before adopting its current name in 2014. World Rugby is responsible for setting the rules of the game, the organising of major tournaments such as the Rugby World Cup, and promoting the sport globally. Here's a list of their executive board, with rugby representatives from all playing nations. On the right is the rugby's decision-making bodies and how this is structured from the council down to the community committees. Here is some more information on rugby across the globe, looking at participation rates. On the top left, global rugby participation grew by 11% in 2023 to 8.46 million. The number of clubs has increased by more than 30% globally across 132 national member unions. And there's been a big increase in male participation rate in players by 26% and female even more by 37%. So what is good governance? Good governance in sport refers to the transparent, ethical and effective management of sport organisations, ensuring accountability, integrity and fairness in decision making. Good governance of World Rugby can be measured using 4 key principles. Transparency, so there's clear communication with stakeholders including rugby unions, players and fans. Democratic processes, there's a fair and inclusive representation of all member unions and decision making bodies. Internal accountability, clear disciplinary mechanisms for unethical conduct, including corruption and doping violations, and there's a societal responsibility in promotion of rugby, diversity, equality and inclusion in all levels of the sport. And on the right is an agency theory. Agency theory is highly relevant to World Rugby governance as it helps balance the interests of various stakeholders, including national unions, commercial partners and players, and the key agency relationships in World Rugby. We have the principals, who are the national rugby unions, the broadcasters, the fans, and then the agents are the World Rugby executives and the government organisers. This is World Rugby's network analysis. As you can see, there are multiple stakeholders which are much in communication with one another. So the stakeholder theory in World Rugby distributes funds to smaller nations to ensure competitive balance. For example, Rugby World Cup revenue is reinvested into developing nations like Fiji and Samoa, and conflicts between stakeholders occur when player unions demand more equitable compensation, while commercial parties demand more games. So concussion in rugby. In men's rugby 15s, the overall rate of match play concussions is 4.73 per 1,000 player match hours. It's a common injury reported during gameplay. Concussions accounted for 28% of all injuries reported for the 10th consecutive season. And the 2020-21 season recorded highest concussion incidents since records began in 2002. This is World Rugby's current governance for concussion. The website contains overall information regarding concussion management, as well as step-by-step HIA protocols for coaches, officials and managers to follow. The unique aspect about World Rugby's governance is their grassroots awareness and accessibility for all to access concussion protocols. The site has also published documents such as education programs and head injury assessment definitions. A portfolio of documents are published to gain insight of step-by-step procedures. Contrasting to World Rugby's concussion guidelines, this is Swim England's approach, who are the national governing body for all aquatic sport in England. Their governance is extremely brief and standard measures are recommended if an athlete is concussed. The site recommends of calling emergency assistance immediately, and no training or awareness is taught to coaches while there is a risk of concussion in the sport. New swimmers are also uneducated on this matter, which consequently lead to less efficient treatment. Another sport that has received much criticism for its concussion laws is the Australian Football League. Like rugby, there's a relatively high risk of concussion due to the physical nature of the sport. So the impact of managing concussion is efficient recovery, reduced risk of long-term damage, and mental well-being. So the risk of mood disorders with anxiety and depression can be decreased. To conclude, World Rugby have nurtured